as pen testers, we will try to connect to this application, and this will give us a first access in the client network. Also, there is a vulnerability assessment. This is basically when we run automatic scans on the IP address provided by a client. And these scans will help us identifying vulnerabilities, and we will analyze them and define if it's false positives or not. So we have also internal pen test. It's an attempt to break into a system from within the customer's network. So once we are in the customer offices, we connect with an Ethernet cable and we try to become network administrator because the administrator has all the access on the system. It's like if someone manages to steal the personal data of the people working in the company. Then we have Wi-Fi test. So we are checking Wi-Fi security. Is it easy to connect? We check that the Wi-Fi password is strong enough. Are the technology in use reliable? And because some technologies are depreciated because they are vulnerable. So we are looking if these technologies are not in use. And secure Wi-Fi will avoid a hacker to look legitimate in a network like any other person connected to the network. We have social engineering, which is also known as phishing. Some companies like Okiok propose phishing campaigns, and we will do what an attacker would do, and we will be able to know how many people have read the email, how many have clicked on the link. And this kind of data we get from this will help the company to implement a better awareness policy. We have also physical security. So we will try, so this is like physical in, because we will try to break into a building. We can make scenarios to try to manipulate people to let us in or break in at night, for example. So we usually have objectives to achieve and specific targets to reach. So there's also denial of service. So we are going to try, because there are different attacks that can lead to a denial of service. So we are going to, I need maybe to define what's a denial of service. This is when too many people try to access to an application at the same times, then it becomes unavailable. So we will try to test all those attacks that can lead to this, and this will help us to evaluate the resistance of the system to this kind of attacks. Also, there is the red team. Red team is, it will be mainly to check the ability of a company to detect the attack rather than focusing on finding a lot of vulnerabilities. We also have a web pen test, so we can test applications, for example, so web applications, and we are going to try to access to sensitive data to become an administrator, and using the most common black hat attacks. For instance, we have SQL injections. It is an attack that allows to get information from the database because the database will contain all the information needed to run an application. And this is typically a place where you would be able to find sensitive information. Also, so that's it for the types of pen test. There are several phases to accomplish in order to make a proper pen test. So different steps. There is the planning phase. During this phase, we will discuss with the customer, the penetration tester, and the client, and we will agree on a number of legal and technical matters. Usually, those matters are defined by writing in something called the engagement protocol. And we also are going to define the goal and the scope of the engagement. The scope, this is exactly what you will have to test. This defines the boundaries of your test, and it is critical from a legal perspective because if you do any test beyond the defined scope, it will be a breach of the engagement protocol. So it could lead to legal issues with the customer. So we are going also to talk about timeline, to talk about also the liabilities and responsibilities, because during a pen test, things can go wrong. And you will need to ensure that most of the things that you can anticipate that will probably go wrong are dealt with in this specific phase. So, for instance, to give you an example of liabilities you could cause, it would be to access sensitive data that is out of scope, or accidentally remove data, or something like this. So your responsibility would be to keep the client informed and up to date during your pen test, and you need to keeping reports, collect everything in a safe place, and so on. You will also discuss the allowed techniques that you will use for the test, the deliverable and the expectations of the client, and you will define also a statement of work. And you will sign something called a non-disclosure agreement, which is in short an NDA. This is a written statement of the penetration tester where they guarantees in writing that the vulnerability they will discover, the exploits they will use are developed, and in general, any information related to the organization accessed during the engagement, all of this will not be disclosed to any third party. This is very important. And this will guarantee that the client can trust you. And also sometimes you can plan for a retest to check if the patches you've suggested in your initial report have been properly done. So during this discovering phase, which is the next phase, we will try to understand our target and how it works and how we can get into it. And then there's the attacking phase. We are going to attack the target according to what has been decided with the client before and to what we found during the discovering phase. We will try the same techniques as a cyber criminal, and we will write down all our findings and keep proof of them. And then we will have the reporting phase. We are going to use our notes from the attack phase to deliver a report. And we usually give a score to establish the gravity of a vulnerability found. We will explain how the attack can be reproduced and how to patch. So now that I've presented to you how does a pen test work, we are going to dive into some practice with a case study. So I will correct this exercise right away, but I invite you to, you will have access to my slides and to the video afterwards, so you will be able to think about it on your own and to think about what you would have done. So the exercise, you can read in the slide what is it about. So now the possible solution for, so you will need to do this in regard of the pen testing steps I just talked about previously. So this is a possible solution for the planning phase. This is pretty self-explanatory. So if you have any question about this phase, feel free to ask them. I can give you a few seconds. And if not, I'm going to go to the next phase. Okay, so now I can show you the tools that you will need for the planning phase. You will need those tools to make everything properly according to the law and in respect of the customer and the customers of your customer. You will need a lawyer for the NDA, but if you work for a company, they usually have everything set up with a team of lawyers, so it's pretty well done. It can be useful to show an example of a pentest report to the customer if it's a customer who is new to pentest. And about the discovering phase, in our case, we will explore the website. We will try to understand the technology in use. It's a sort of, it's a little like reverse engineering. You try to understand how this works and what are the technology in use, what are the domains, what are the subdomains. And during this phase, it's very important to respect the scope because you are going to use all the information in the discovering phase for your attack phase. So you have to be sure that the scope is properly defined and that you're in scope and you are not going out of scopes. So those are the possible tools for the discovering phase. You have Burp Suite and OWASP DAP that are proxies that help you to inspect requests and responses of a web application. And OWASP has a good guide. This is the Open Web Application Security Project. This is an online community that produces freely available articles. You get methodologies, you get documentations, tools, technologies in the field, that everything related web application security. So it helps pen testers and it helps developers as well. And also they have also some cities that have OWASP chapters in them, and they do conferences, they do talks, workshops, everything. Also, you can use FreeMind. This is an open source mind mapping tool, and LibreOffice, which is a clone of Microsoft Office. So a possible solution for the attacking phase. So this is early beginner level, so I will not go into big details, but if you want to be methodic, you need to use a checklist of the things to test. And it turns out that OWASP again has one that you can use. You will need to take as much notes as possible. This is very important. Some pen testers like to write their report at the same time. It's really up to what you prefer. You can also use a cherry tree to take notes during your test. This is a tool, I put the link on the slide. For the attack itself, you can use Kali Linux, which is a virtual machine that comes with many different tools installed. So what is a virtual machine? To explain it as simply as possible, it is an operating system that you can install on your computer without having to change your own operating system. So this basically means that you can use 2 operating systems at the same time. And Kali Linux is an operating system with many tools pre-installed for Pentest. So to cite only a few of them, because there are so many, you have Burp Suite and OWASP that I previously talked about. Those are useful for the discovery phase, but also for the attack phase. You have Dirbuster that can help you for the discovery phase to enumerate the folder in the target or to do some fuzzing. The fuzzing is when you try many payloads. Payloads are snippets of code. So you try many snippets of code at the same time to try to generate error that could divulge some information about the target. You can also use SQL map, which is helpful for SQL injection, and Beef, which is a cool tool for cross-site scripting. And there are so many, so I will leave you to have a look at Kali Linux. So for the reporting phase, in the report, you have to explain everything and to use the notes you've taken and the screenshots you've taken during the attack phase as a proof. So this is why it is very important during the attack phase to take as much note as possible. You have to explain clearly how the attack can be reproduced. You can use some good references as Mitre and OWASP to help you with the explanations. There are plenty of glossary to if you are not sure of a definition of an attack. Mitre is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology Research and Engineering, and the Mitre Corporation is an American not-for-profit organization that manages federally funding research and development to support several US government agencies. So they have plenty of resources that you could use, and it's available to everyone. You need to order your vulnerabilities from the most critical to the least critical. So this will help the client to prioritize the patches. You can use, for the scoring, you can use CVSS or WASC. You have the links here. CVSS is the Common Vulnerability Scoring System. It is a free and open industry standard for assessing the severity of computer system security vulnerabilities. So they attempt to assign severity scores to vulnerabilities. And this helps to, as I told you before, prioritize and respond according to the threat. So then you will also need to explain how to patch. You will need also to have in your report a small brief part that does not go into technical details for the executive team of the company you are testing for. Those people are the people who won't want any technical details. They will just need to know what you found in a very, and it has to be explained in a very clear way for anybody to understand. So now that we are done with our use case and the presentation, I have here some resources for you. As I told you before, you will have the slides, so you will have all the links and you will be able to have them at your home. I trained myself to become a pen tester, so you can read my story on my blog. I did also there share a lot of resources that could help you learn. If you want to learn, you can use learning platforms like you have here. You have Cybery, you have Certified Secure, you have MOS Institute. MOS Institute is it's a cybersecurity institute that provides free training for women. So if you're interested in getting enrolled in this, there is a remote internship program and you can contact me. I can enroll you. The only requirement is that you have to be a woman. And you will have several exercises to do. And in the end, you will get a certification that you have successfully accomplished the program. And it's very good because there's a community there that can help you. And the exercises are corrected by people. So I really invite you to join it, and it's free. So this is pretty cool. You can use also online CTF platforms such as Hack the Box, RootMe, Over the Wire are challenges if you want to get to know Linux, which is the operating system that which is like you will need those commands to use Kali Linux. So this is very good because you get to learn Linux with this. There's also Ringer 0 CTF that sorry, there's a typo. It's Ring 0 CTF. Oops. And you can practice with live CTF. CTF time here have a very good resource where you can go online and check what are live CTF currently, when are they, which conference are they, and everything. And a very good thing that is also good for networking is to go to conferences, to go to events like this one you're doing now. You will get to know people, you will get to ask your question to experts, you will get to meet experts, and this will help you to know who to follow on Twitter, because this also on Twitter it's very useful because you have many you can find many people on Twitter from the InfoSec community that will tweet about a lot of things, and so this is a very good resources. So there you go. If you have any question, you can ask them. I'm ready for them. And if you have also question about the phases of a pen test or anything related to this presentation, it's not a problem. Okay. Okay, so I guess that's it for today. And I will take some time to invite you to register to our next workshop, which will be a malware analysis workshop. So it will be very fun and you will learn a lot of things. It's made by Surira de Souza. She's very, very good. Someone is asking if this is a series of workshops. We have workshops with WoSec. Usually it's every month, but this month we have 2 of them. So we are trying to do beginner workshops and less beginner workshops. So feel free to join everything you want. It's always free, and we are trying to have many different teams. If you also want to present something, you can do it as well. Okay, I guess that's it for today. Is there anything you would like to add, Cecilia, or?
No, I'm good to go. I think we're gonna send you the slide, and you can have all the resources. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And you'll have the link to the YouTube video as well, because it was live on YouTube on the WoSec channel.